It's time for my favorite Pokemon Pocket video of the week. I've combed through thousands of tournament deck lists so you don't have to uncover the most interesting off-meta decks that spiked results. Let's go ahead and dive right into some sweet things that we could all hopefully win some games with in Pokemon Pocket. Last week, I described Dusk Mane Necrozma as them finally giving us a powerful promo card, and we've got not just one, but a couple of deck list spiking results this week that lead that conclusion to likely be correct. The first of these is pairing it with format All-Star Silvally, in a deck list that went 8-2 in one of the community tournaments this week. Dusk Mane Necrozma, backed up by Lusamine, is a perfect secondary attacker behind Silvally. Once they knock out your lead 2 energy card, you can go ahead and Lusamine those 2 metal energy onto the Necrozma and continue cracking for 100 points of damage every single turn on a Pokemon that's also just a single knockout point, letting you have this steady flow of 100-point hitters over the course of the game. This maximizes the amount of damage your opponent has to do while letting you pump out a steady stream that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. The blueprint of this deck, i.e. Silvally into potent Ultra Beast that Lusamine enables, is the same as the Blazion Silvally decks that we saw find success in tournaments this past weekend. I'll be interested to see if this Dusk Mane variation can gain some traction as a viable alternative that has slightly different upside of not dealing damage to itself on the Ultra Beast while dealing slightly less damage to the opponents. The second Dusk Mane Necrozma build to put up a result this past week went 5-3 in one of our community tournaments. It's playing Stakataka as its secondary metal attacker and is all in on the Ultra Beast theme, allowing Celesteela to provide key mobility, letting us get whatever attacker we want to start on up to the front of the class. This build is playing a Nihilego as a 7th basic, but it's only leveraging metal energy so it can attack with Stakataka and Dusk Mane consistently. Nihilego is purely here to allow our 2 copies of Poison Barb to hit even harder. This is a really potent Pokemon tool, basically making it so you do 40 damage per cycle to your opponents after they hit you for the first time. I really like the flexibility that this deck has with 2 different Ultra Beasts that Lusamine can power up, meaning you're able to just consistently keep that pressure applied to your opponents regardless of which Pokemon you're drawing and in what order. Stoutland is fast growing on me as my favorite card from the Extra Dimensional Crisis expansion, and I was super excited to see this Pokemon paired with a other favorite of mine in the IP of Garchomp take a 6-2 finish in one of our tournaments. Baby Garchomp to me feels like one of the most powerful cards in Pocket when all your bits come together. It has high HP and solid damage for a minimal energy investment, and Reckless Shearing is just such a potent effect in a game where our decks are already small. You very quickly get through to exactly what you're looking for. That being said, obviously both Stage 2 Pokemon and 2-color attacks have a lot of variance in Pokemon Pocket, but in enter Stoutland, another potent Stage 2 that we can assemble when Garchomp doesn't come together, and because Garchomp's attacks are colorless, it means that you're always going to be able to hit with it, even in the games where you get double water or double fighting energy and wouldn't be able to attack with your dragon. This deck list is leveraging a pretty typical package of double stage 2s. You've got 1 stage 1 in each, along with 2 copies of Rare Candy to jump up to those stage 2s ahead of curve. You've got a Lele to heal. You've got Cyrus for your cards that are dealing chip shot damage to pull things back up that might retreat. We've got a Miser's Cynthia to let Garchomp hit even harder, and a copy of Giant Cape for a little bit of extra sustain. Another variation of Stoutland that went 6-2 in one of our weekly tournaments is featuring Psychic attackers as the backup, specifically Giratina EX, as well as Tapu Lele. I think leveraging Tapu Lele alongside Stoutland is really solid from a game theory perspective, similar to how we've seen Gallade Stoutland have success. Stoutland's Pokemon ability, making your opponent's attacks cost more energy, means that even if they're able to knock out your disruptive dog, you can move Tapu Tapu Lele up to the front and hit even harder since its attack scales based on the amount of energy for the thing you're attacking. Giratina EX really needs no introduction. It's one of the most powerful psychic Pokemon in the game right now, and it's the perfect follow-up to whatever psychic or colorless leads a deck could be playing, like this one. Two underutilized EX Pokemon paired up to put a 6-2 finish in one of our tournaments with Tapu Koko EX from our latest expansion, as well as Pikachu EX from the Shining Revelry pack a couple ago. This particular deck list is following a mold we've seen in the past, where you have 17 trainers as a plethora of support, with a key new one from our latest expansion, an electrical cord, enabling this strategy with 2 higher energy Pokemon outside of Misty's colors. In the past, you would struggle to get 2 different 3 energy EX attackers online, but thanks to the electrical cord, you can move energy off of whatever your lead is when it goes down, so you can have a follow-up Tapu Koko or Pikachu EX ready to blast and hopefully allow you to close out the game. In one of our smaller community tournaments, this Naganadel Genetic Apex Arbok mashup went 4-2 in the Swiss rounds, leveraging Nihilego as a way to make your poison that much more potent. Naganadel cracks for effectively 80 damage per cycle. Arbok can hold something in place once it's poisoned, so it can't retreat out of its condition, and Poison Barb on the Arbok even makes it so whatever comes up after the fact and hits you get re-poisoned. This deck list is also leveraging the promo Ekans, who can apply poison to synergize with Nihilego as well. I would wager if you're someone who missed being able to add that card to your collection, you could probably still play this deck with the regular Ekans with just slightly less synergy. This truly evil Guzzlord variation finished 6-1 in the tournament that it was played in. Guzzlord is already one of the highest HP EX basics in the game, and when you pair it with Dusknoir to constantly pull damage off of it, it's going to survive longer than almost anything else, so it can grind core again and again and again, stripping energies off your opponent the entire time. Something to be aware of with Dusknoir, since it's a pretty underutilized card, is that its Shadow Void ability actually lets you pull as much damage off of the target regardless of how much life Dusknoir has left. So for example, if Dusknoir is on 10 and your Guzzlord is on 10, your Guzzlord can go all the way back up to full when you give up Dusknoir as a knockout to move that damage onto it. This deck list is also leveraging 2 copies of Nihilego alongside 2 copies of Poison Barb, so that way while your opponent is wailing on your otherwise unkillable Guzzlord, they're going to have a really bad time taking lots of damage while you strip their energy away again and again and again. A Togekiss Shiinotic variation put up a solid 5-2 result in one of our tournaments. Togekiss is one of the most aggressive single point stage 2s in the game. When you rare candy up into it, you crack for 60 and then 120 for just 2 energy. And when you mix in 2 copies of Cynthia, you can either start on 110 or ramp up your secondary hits to 170, which clear out almost anything in the game in a single go. The downside to this heavy hitting stage 2 is obviously the consistency these types of cards can have in Enter Shiinotic as a way to draw an additional Pokemon out of your deck every single turn, allowing you to assemble Togekiss that much more consistently and get hammering that much more frequently. Our last 2 deck lists today aren't strictly new to Pokemon Pocket, but they're new to the metagame and we haven't seen them put up results in a little while, so I like to rehash older things that can be worth exploring, especially because they're accessible with all the cards being tradable for. The first of these is Giratina Darkrai featuring Oricorio. Oricorio is a really excellent pairing in this shell, allowing you to have an attacker into opposing EXs, but also just a wall that can stall, letting you set up Dragonite that can often be a powerful finisher all on its own. Giratina is the perfect pairing behind these because while you're not making psychic energy, it takes you a while to charge Dragonite up, which gives you plenty of time to activate Giratina's broken Space Bellow ability, meaning that even if Dragonite can't close the game out all on its own, you've got a potent EX waiting behind it to finish things up after the fact. Finally, a variation of Lunala Giratina with a Miser's copy of Mewtwo EX put up a 5-3 finish in one of our community events. cards. Lunala is one of the most fun and interesting cards to play in Pokemon Pocket, in my opinion. I think bobbing and weaving with retreating in ways that make sense to optimize the amount of damage your opponent has to deal to get through your board is a ton of fun. And Lunala EX's Pokemon ability, letting you constantly shuffle your psychic energies around the board, lets you do this in a really satisfying way. Our copy of Leaf is a key supporter here, letting you retreat out of something like Giratina EX or Mewtwo EX and salvage their energies to push on up to something else so you can keep the pressure on. The one copy of Baby Giratina is a noteworthy call out here as well, since its Pokemon ability lets you retreat for free while saving its energy, and as a non-EX Pokemon, it gives you a really clean answer to opposing copies of Oricorio with its 70-point attack for just 3 energy. If you enjoyed today's new decks roundup, be sure to smash the like button to help the video reach some more people. If you happen to be new here, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss deck highlights coming up later this week with the most interesting of these deck lists that I have the most success with. As always, I appreciate the folks who made it all the way through to the end of today's video, and I hope your next Pokemon Pocket Pack is an excellent one.
The decks in this video may be worse than their statistically insignificant sample sizes make them appear. There is no easy button for getting to Masters in Pokemon Pocket, and if you are looking for that in this YouTube video or any other, you will likely be sorely disappointed.